Now here in the big tank, it's a 20 gallon. It's not that big. It's small by comparison with most people, but I have it filled with neons and with some guppies. These guppies have just been birthing babies left and right. Um, there's no way to count how many there are in here right now because those guppies, there's a lot of cover. You can see there's all these rocks, there's plants, and the guppies are in and out of them, and they move around quickly, so it's very difficult to keep track of them all. You can see here too, with all the little nooks and crannies. I have three coolie loaches, and every once in a blue moon, maybe once or twice a week, I'll see some of them. I haven't seen any today. I do have a hill stream loach, and he's actually right in there. There he is. You can see him there. He likes to hang upside down like a bat in that cave there, and he'll come out and flirt around and have a good old time as he moves around the tank. Now, there's three Anubias plants in here, and then there's a bunch of Java fern, and I have all my plants crazy glued to some of this slate or shale or whatever. It's slate, I believe, and it works out great. I crazy glue them to the back edge of the slate, and so when I put them in here, it doesn't look like they're growing on the slate. It looks rather like they're coming up from the substrate behind the slate. There's a couple spots where you can see you can see in the back there. There's a little bit of white, and that's some of the crazy glue and the way it's changed in the tank. But that too will eventually turn a little green and discolor, and it'll be less obvious. But you can see here as a matter of fact, you can see this one right here. This little Java fern is glued on the edge, and it was just a little offshoot from another plant that broke off, and so I glued it to the edge, and it's doubled in size since I did it, and it seems to be healthy, but it looks like it's coming up from the substrate rather than being glued to the to the slate. The shrimp are loving this. They have plenty of places to go and hide. I have blue and red shrimp, and yeah, I know they're gonna, interbreed, and I'm gonna have brown shrimp. But that's okay. I'm more interested in just having the shrimp than anything else. And they're growing like guppies, going nuts and having a good old time. And every time I turn around, I find loads of little babies. You can see a couple flecks there up at the front, and of all kinds of different sizes. And there's, some of the young guppies, plenty of the shrimp. You can see they're. I don't do much gravel vacuuming because, well, it's kind of tough because there's not that much open gravel. But between the shrimp and the hill stream, I don't seem to be having much problem. I mean, all of these fish, especially even the guppies, they're all picking at the food that hits the ground. I can seldom find any spoiled food or any trapped food. It's occasionally you'll see like there's a little flake right here that got trapped there, but it'll be gone by the end of the day. Somebody will have gotten in there and have gotten to it. yeah, you don't see too much food spoiling in here. They get to it all, and they're certainly acting well fed. Now, I did try some baby tears, I think it's called, and that was kind of a waste because I didn't find out until afterwards that I'd need probably to have a much more technical tank than I do have, and they don't grow real well in this gravel. However, there are a couple of spots where they seem to be hanging on well. Right here in the front, you can see a couple little ones. Over there, there's a couple. In the back, in that little grotto area, there's some. There, that's all that's left out of two batches of baby tears. So a lot of them have, of course, pulled up and floated away, and they're part of this little mass up here. And you can see there's a Java leaf and a little offshoot from the Java ferns that have broken off and just floating around. I'm waiting to see where that might get attached to. I have some more floating. Well, you see that Java leaf right there. That broke off about 3 weeks ago, and it's staying green and healthy. So obviously, it's not suffering. I left it in there more as a experiment to see how well that might grow. And it hasn't had anything come off of it yet, but it's not dying on me. It seems like it looks as good as if it were cut off yesterday. And there are more. You see more of the little plants floating by. There's some more of the baby tears, and of course the guppies love it. They go up and they feed off of anything that might be on it. And the neons, they're just going around and picking their food. And now you may not notice that I do have two filters in this tank. I have a hang-on back that's right there, and of course I have the foam cover on the intake. And over here I have a very small foam filter in the corner. Plus I have an air stone. And my numbers, all my numbers are very good and very healthy, and my phosphate's at a very safe level. My total dissolved solids are considered where they should be. And a lot of that, I think, is attributed to the fact that, well, these plants are doing a good job. And they're growing. As you can see, my Nubius there has a leaf that's starting to unfurl. If you look over here on this Anubias, you can see a couple more leaves starting to come out from the rhizome at the bottom. You can also see the rhizome from that Anubias trailing off behind it, and it's, healthy. It's gotten a little green on it, and that's algae from, the light. But it seems healthy. The slate here does have, well, if you move a smaller piece that's resting on top of a bigger piece, you'll see an outline of where the one piece had been. And it's not so much algae as just biofilm, which seems to be great. The Hillstream Loach feeds on it and seems to really be enjoying it. And the shrimp are enjoying it as well, too. You can see they're in there. And if you can get in close and look at them, which I can't with this camera, you can see they're just busy feeding themselves whenever they're there. And like I say, they're breeding. They're obviously healthy. They're breeding like they were guppies, and the guppies are breeding like shrimp. And I'm going to have to find an alternative because I'm afraid that I'm going to get overcrowded in the future. But they're happy and they're healthy. And now those little round gray spheres, those are tourmaline, and I don't know if they do anything or not. They're supposed to be good for the creatures, and so I threw some in. Just kind of add kind of a design element in here, and break it up a little bit and give a little more surface area. Because the more surface area that you have, the more filtration you're in essence, offering. The good bacteria and the good nitrifying bacteria, they grow on everything, and the more space and the more place they have, they're supposed to be, that's good for the tank. So now those they're little moss balls, and I picked those up as a whim, and I really don't know what if they seem to be growing, and well, not so much growing, but they're not dying. I wouldn't say they're thriving, but then again, they're not supposed to really thrive that much. But again, it's more surface area for, nitrifying bacteria, and more place to trap little bits of food, which the shrimp seem to enjoy. And, all the little creatures seem to just hunt and peck. And you might see a couple little specks that look like algae, and those get cleaned up regularly by, all the fish in the tank. The guppies, they are, I don't know, these orange red-tailed male guppies. They remind me of flamenco dancers with that, the way their tails just, flap in the current as they swim. And when you get the three males chasing after a female, it does look quite beautiful. And I did go with a black background on the outside, and it didn't adhere perfectly all the way across. So there's kind of like a little pattern, like a little modeled pattern to it. It's completely random, but I kind of like the way that turned out. It doesn't look. It looks more natural. It doesn't look just plain shiny black. And you can see there in the highlights on the back, you can see that little pattern, or that grain texture. It's I kind of like that better. And it's one of those little, plastic sheets that you adhere to the backside. You squeegee it off then to make it stick better. And I had kind of did it as a last minute thing, so I didn't really get it as well done as I would have liked. But I think I'm glad I didn't, because I think it turned out better that way. It's fascinating. I can sit here mesmerized by these antics of these fish, and even by the plants, and follow them around for the day, and see how they're doing. There's some interesting, I don't want to call them fry anymore, because they've kind of grown up out of the fry stage, and now they're more like juvenile. They're not babies anymore, they're juvenile guppies. And it's interesting to see how their markings and their colors are beginning to come out. Like here, all you see is a dark spot on the tail. But if I can find one here. There you see one with a little more markings on his tail. And I know I've got one. I'm pretty sure he's going to... there in the background. See where he's going to go. Oh, he's doing his best to hide. I think he's going to grow up to be a very pretty male, a very good-looking male. He's got, pardon me, a longer dorsal fin and some interesting markings. He's got more black in his body than the three males, so I think he got that from his mother. I've got some blue-tailed females here, and those are going to be interesting to see how they turn out when they cross. But I'm not so much worried about keeping one strain. I just want to see pretty colors in the tank. That's why the first thing I did is the first fish I put in here were the neon tetras. I, it's interesting how during the day they'll go from swimming all over the place looking for food, and then in the evening they'll like school together and they'll all sit in the water like those three were there. They'll all sit oriented so that they're facing one specific direction, and it's like they're consciously watching something outside the tank. And I'm not sure what it is that they might be watching, but they will sit there, and it's really sharp to see when they... there's my little hill stream. There he is. I don't know if he's a male or a female. All the online things that you see say, well, the male is more angular, the female is rounder and wider. And that's fine when you have two there, so you can compare a male to a female and back and forth. But I only have the one in here, and so I don't know if he's more angular or more round than another one, because I really don't have anything to compare him to. But he seems to be doing well, and I say he out of just convenience. He seems to be doing quite well and comfortable, and he comes out and he'll make his rounds around the tank, and he's not as panicky as he was when he first got in the tank, which I can understand. But he's always got his eye on you. That's the way those eyes are shaped. But he's got he's put on a few, little weight since he's been in here, and you can see his tail's a little bit thicker, and he seems healthy, and it's really kind of fascinating to watch him swim around. I've seen more and more about how easy it is to breed them, but I'm going to have to find out, a little more before I try that, and maybe have a little more room in a tank for him. I think this would be a good tank for him, but then he's competing with all the other fish in here. The babies, the baby hill streams would be competing, and that might cause issues. So for now, it's a lonely life for him, living in his bat cave and coming out to forage. But he does a decent job of going around. He's like a little Roomba, and you can see there as he's going, in between the gravel and along that piece of slate, and just having his little lunch and having a good time. Well, time to go. Bye.